You're listening to one of the best kept secrets in music right now.
Okay.
May I express my appreciation of your admiration of my preparation. This is dedication, self-education without a graduation violation accusation. Whew. See you at the station, lawyered up, no hesitation, citation, litigation, declaration, delegation, no cooperation from a kid on probation. Plenty information who could put interrogation, cause I had no aspirations.
There's no question in my mind I'm about to be one of the biggest stars in music. Probably in the game, period.
What happened to that boy? What happened to that boy? He was talking shit, we put a clap into that boy.
And we are live.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. It is May 30th. It is the, I think, 74th edition of List and your boy, Jimmy Van. What's up?
So my first question for you right off the top is, why are you and I guess Melissa and maybe Nigel talking about Ghee?
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
So if you remember last week, there was a person who bought a super chat on List and Your Boy,
Uh-huh.
and they paid for it and put their link in. We thought they were a bot.
Mm-hmm.
They have reached out to me in several forms of social media to educate me on what that is, and apparently they're sending me free stuff. So
Really? I actually knew what that is. Can you believe it? I knew what Ghee is. It's butterfat.
well, we're discussing a sponsorship. So there
A
you go.
Ghee sponsorship.
Yeah, and I figured that if we got a Ghee sponsorship, it would be of the martial arts variety. Not the case.
Right, exactly. You know what you should do is you should have a product where you have like a bottle of it and it's wrapped in a Ghee.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, that could be like a Fightful product.
There's no way that would fail.
Melissa, get it done. Get it done, Melissa.
On it.
I want Ghee and a Ghee.
Yeah, let's spend.
And then, you know, if we could get
$40 a bottle to make it a Fightful Select reward.
If we could
like
get
do with the
Guy
other stuff.
Lafleur to be like the spokesman for it,
What
shit's
about Guy-
gold?
What about Guy Ledouche from MXC back in the day? Do you remember that?
No.
The show that they, well, you live in Canada, but it was the Japanese game show that would always have like the wipeouts and stuff, and had the two fellas in like whatever the hell they were in talking, and the on the field reporter was Guy Ledouche.
Aha. Well, there you go. So I guess we got to start with breaking news, and we've talked about this kind of extensively already in the past on the show, but now we have some, I guess, confirmation. So today, May 30th, the Hollywood Reporter reported that NBC Universal is going to be paying WWE $1.325 billion over 5 years to retain Raw. And as previously reported, Fox is going to be paying $1.025 billion over 5 years to pick up SmackDown. So it's going to be a total valuation of $2.35 billion, which is more than 3 times what they're currently getting with NBC Universal. And there were some very interesting tidbits in that Hollywood Reporter story. You read it, right?
Yes, I did.
Interesting stuff in that story. So, for one thing, the story reports that Stephanie McMahon and Triple H were in the Fox pitch meeting representing WWE alongside Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, who are the co-presidents, and then they had representatives from their agency and investment advisors and whatnot. Anyone that thinks that Shane McMahon is the heir apparent to the throne based on his birthright, this is probably yet another...
Hold on, sir. What if he sells the Chinese VOD rights?
Right. Exactly.
That could happen.
He could pick up $100,000 a year over 5 years for that.
He's got experience in the business.
Yeah, that's possible. No, but anybody that thinks that Shane is the heir apparent, think again. Hunter and Stephanie are going to be running the show, and that's just further proof. There was a couple of interesting tidbits in the story that one of them really surprised me, and that is the fact that Rupert Murdoch was in the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
That shocked the hell out of me, man.
Yeah, me too. Well, you know what? It's like you often hear about, like, whenever they want to really get somebody, like a sports team is recruiting somebody.
Right.
If John Calipari of the Kentucky Wildcats wants a player, he's visiting them in person.
Right, yeah.
He's getting it done. He's not sending his assistant coach. He's not sending Kenny Payne out there. He's showing up at that kid's game to recruit him. And Rupert Murdoch's old 87-year-old wrinkly ass made it there.
He did. You know something, man?
I've
become so desensitized as a wrestling fan from years of disrespect. that I was shocked that Rupert Murdoch was there, meaning that Fox really wanted the deal. And something else that I thought was interesting in the story. So Lachlan Murdoch, who is Rupert's son, and he's the CEO of Fox. And I think one of Shane's kids might be named Lachlan. Or maybe Declan. Could be Declan. But anyway, Lachlan reportedly called Stephanie McMahon after the meeting to herald the marriage between the two families. The marriage of the Murdoch and the McMahon families. And I just was ready to regurgitate my lunch when I read that. But this is a massive thing for WWE. And there was something else in the story that I thought was interesting. There was a quote from a former Fox staffer. And this is what they said. They said, quote, "We could not sell UFC. Wrestling is..."
to bring that up.
Okay, I said we could not sell UFC. Then they said wrestling is family friendly. If you have wrestling, you can find cash. I think it's a big win for Fox. It's a great trade-off. We talked about this last week. 2 years ago, this was just unfathomable. Like, it was just not possible 2 years ago. And now you essentially had Fox pass on the UFC, essentially, in order to get the SmackDown brand. It's amazing. And for a Fox staffer to say we couldn't sell UFC. WWE has long been known as the big rated entity that you couldn't sell to advertisers.
While UFC, although in the similar category, not to the degree of WWE, and I had a lot of people comparing the deals, and I was like, well, they were like, well, WWE is just a weekly show. Yeah, but it's also every week.
Yes.
ESPN's getting like 42 events. However, they're getting more hours of content than WWE. It's really, really hard to compare, quantify, but apparently those UFC shows aren't getting any shorter, which is, I think, a nightmare. A nightmare covering stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm glad that wrestling has shaken that stigma, because it should have a long time ago.
I mean, this deal is stupid. For WWE, it's phenomenal. So basically, it breaks down to $265 million a year for Raw, $205 million a year for SmackDown. You got to keep in mind, SmackDown is currently 2 hours, Raw is currently 3 hours, which means that the two deals are actually pretty comparable.
Yeah, I expected 1.3 to 1.5 billion
for Raw.
For Raw,
right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so it's massive for WWE, and so like we talked about last week, I'm very curious to find out what's going to happen now in terms of talent. Because they're going to expect something. They're going to expect their share of this deal. So we'll see what happens, man. You know? It's very interesting.
I mean, I think it's yeah, and did you see what Rupert Murdoch had told WWE during the meeting?
Yeah, but how NBC Universal was embarrassed by your product.
I mean, 1.35 billion is an awful lot to give somebody that you're embarrassed of, right?
I mean, he did what he did to try to get that show because NBC Universal passed on SmackDown anyway. And,
they had to.
Yeah, they did.
Couldn't afford
they couldn't afford it. It's true. And apparently, Rupert Murdoch told WWE that Fox is going to embrace the brand and promote it across sports programming every night of the week. So this is big for WWE. There's no other way to put it. It's big for WWE.
So the funny thing is, Showdown Joe and I often talk about how when a UFC show is on, if you're not Ross Sapp or you're not Showdown Joe, somebody who has to tune in and watch it all the time, you might not know what channel it's on. Spike, YouTube, Facebook, Fight Pass, Pay-Per-View, FS1, FS2, FX. They've been on FXX before, Fuel, Versus, Ion. I could go on and on. Now they are on the ESPN family of networks. That's it. And for a while they've been just on Fox, the Fox networks, but there are so many Fox networks right now that they air on. Now WWE is going to be split a little bit more, and we've seen that in the past. We've seen them syndicated. We've seen them on USA, on My Network TV or whatever trash that was. But ultimately, you're tuning into the network, USA or Fox. Do you think that helps or hurts them from a just wanting to tune in and catch some wrestling standpoint? Maybe somebody who hasn't in a while.
How
do you think that affects them?
I think so. Raw's gonna be just fine. Nothing's happening with Raw. SmackDown, historically Fridays are a bad night for wrestling, but WWE's never been in a position like this where they're going to be on a major network every week that's promising to promote the show every night of the week across their sports programming. They've never had this opportunity in terms of promotion, and so I expect that at the least the very first episode on Fox is going to do a big number. Because if they promote it, they say they're going to. I think there's going to be a lot of curiosity that first week. I don't think they're going to be able to maintain it. But even if they're able to do what they're doing right now on NBC Universal on a Friday night, I think Fox is going to be cool with that. I think. So we'll see what happens. But honestly, you would think, given how much promotion opportunity they have, that they should be able to at least equate Raw's ratings. You would think, but we'll see what happens.
Seeing the amount that Fox is paying SmackDown, yeah, I expect more of an emphasis on SmackDown. Although, hey, last night I loved that show. I thought SmackDown last night was a great watch. This has been really cool. I've said this a few times, but once one domino fell, the rest fall shortly after, and we had the Fox news, we had the UFC news, we had the expanded UFC news, then we had the NBCU number kind of coming out. It's an exciting time. It's like, man, it's like NBA free agency. Everybody's waiting for one person to make one move, and then all of a sudden everything happens in the matter of like a few days. It's really, really cool. It's really exciting to kind of see that all unfold.
Stephanie McMahon can definitely buy stadiums full of Ghee now.
She could.
If she couldn't before, she can now.
She could go to omg.com to do that. Thanks to them again for their super chat this week.
Oh, there you go. It's because we were promoting Ghee. That's why.
Well, I'm sure.
Anybody want your butterfat, get yourself a cup and a straw and hit up omg.com. There you go.
Yes,
let's move on and talk about your favorite wrestling performer and rapper, an individual.
Pusha T?
Did
you hear about?
I actually know what you're talking about. Talking about. Adonis.
I was 16 years old and I heard Pusha T rap, and I said, "Man, nobody should fuck with him." It is now, 14 years later, 15 years later,
16 years later, Sean.
Whatever. Drake thought that he could get it done. In the words of a wise man, ugh.
Well, apparently Drake did get it done. That's part of the problem.
That's a good point.
So let's talk about Real One, Sean. So the gentleman, I guess formerly known as Enzo Amore, apparently he's using the name Real One. We had a nice little clip on the top of the show that you produced, Sean.
I did.
I didn't know. That's what Nigel said. He said you produced that clip.
I think Nigel put that together.
Did you, Nigel?
No, that was Sean, totally.
I had to get topical. I had to fit Pusha T into our intro somehow, and that's how I did it.
That's good. So on Monday, as he had promised, and I'm going to call him Enzo because Real One is dumb, so I'm going to call him Enzo. So on Monday, Enzo made an appearance in Times Square like he said he was going to on Memorial Day. That same day, his first music video dropped.
Drew a nice little crowd.
Yeah, were they there for him, or were they there because it was Memorial Day?
I mean, they were. I saw a lot of people reacting to like meeting him and stuff.
Sure, but
so, I mean, I'm sure there were quite a few people there for him.
Okay, with all due respect to Enzo, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a following, but with all due respect to Enzo, I have been in Times Square over U.S. holidays in the past, Sean, and it's a sea of people there. You can't even move.
Well, maybe that was part of the plan.
That was part of the plan, because then he could go and say, "Look at all the people that came to see me," even though they didn't. Because when he was walking with security, Sean, there was a lot of people like off to the side with their back to him because they weren't even paying any attention, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think he did that on purpose to make it look like they were there for him, and they weren't necessarily. But anyway, that's a side note. So his new song is called Phoenix. It's in reference to his the misconduct allegations and the base location of all that and everything. And the video was released exclusively through World Star Hip Hop. We have a clip of it. Nigel, go ahead, hit that clip.
Oh, you're gonna get us flagged.
I don't care. Hit it.
Listen up, you sloppy jalopy son of a bitch. Sitting on your fucking couch with your fucking phone in your hand, doing your armchair detective work, think you know what the fuck's going on. When was the last time you kept a 2-month social media silence? Think I wasn't gonna say shit?
I'ma let y'all talk shit. If I had a fuck to give, I would give it. If you feeling froggy, you ain't gotta leave, all you gotta do is rivet. Putting on a zero fucks given exhibit. I got nothing to lose. Minute for minute, then a minute to win it. Sky's the limit. Sorry, officer, gotta admit it. Yeah, I'm over the limit.
So first and foremost,
I wish my hair looked like that.
It can if you really wanted to, Sean.
Well, if I had it crimped or something.
Yeah, you could. So first, I want to I want to call out Nigel, because Nigel told me off the air that is his new favorite song of the year, like his new favorite breakout song. So I want Nigel to give me his thoughts on Phoenix by Real One.
Okay, so other than the line, "You sloppy jalopy son of a bitch," that was pretty cringy. I do love that opening line, though.
Yeah.
You didn't like the line about his consensual penis?
Oh, yeah. Well, the feeling froggy part was pretty hilarious as well.
So, well, feeling froggy, they've used that in wrestling before. That's probably where he got it from.
Yeah.
They've used that everywhere.
Yeah,
for
but
decades.
wrestling especially, though, they did with the frog splash and stuff. Sean, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That is not where that came from.
No, but that's where they used it in wrestling. They used it in that sense.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I know that's not where it came from, but that's where they used it. And then because Enzo's from wrestling, I bet you that's how he thought of it.
I get the feeling that most of the things that he heard, I mean, for all the issues surrounding this, I mean, the guy can talk. So I'm pretty sure he heard that well
You're right,
before.
he can. So what are your thoughts on it, man?
I mean, he's obviously had that in the can for a while.
Well, of course, he was waiting, I think, for this time. He was waiting for Memorial Day and, you know.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, good luck to him.
How long ago was it that the case was officially closed? Just like within the last couple of weeks,
Well,
right?
I mean, it's, closed last week. Essentially, they're just not proceeding with charges or anything.
Right.
They could reopen it if any evidence surfaces. Certainly doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But
No. And he was waiting for that to happen, and then I think because Memorial Day happened, it was all planned out. He did Times Square over a holiday on purpose. Like that was a plan. Again, and like I said, I've personally been a witness to it or a part of it. How many people go down there during a holiday? So he did it on purpose. Now I will say this: I am not necessarily the demo for that kind of music. I'm not necessarily a fan of that kind of music. I don't even know if I would call that music. But
well, I mean, I wouldn't say that I am either, but I listen to that kind of music. And
okay,
even
well,
though
I
didn't think it was good, he was probably about as less terrible than some of the SoundCloud rappers I hear on any given day.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Cardi B shit too, and you know she's a gold record, whatever you want to call her, but. I will say this: I give him props for giving it a shot. I give him props for having
that
ambition.
production was good,
really good actually.
It was
really
very good,
Yeah,
very very good.
Yep.
So
I give him props
he
for
addressed
that.
the accuser and all that stuff. Then there's obviously the shots at people who are reporting on this, and I've had people in my mentions nonstop about. Like I had one guy say, "Oh, you were wrong," and I was like, "What was I wrong about?" Like we reported the allegations. We reported the news in which WWE sources gave us.
That was going to be the next thing I actually brought up. I was going to ask you, how did it feel to have Real One cover you, sort of, at the start of his song?
I mean, I kind of figured it was going to come because I mean, who is he going to blame? He can only write about that girl who made those accusations so long. I mean, there was a line saying TMZ owes him restitution. I'm like, that's not the way that reporting on a sexual assault allegation works. That's like we weren't out there saying Enzo Amore raped somebody. We were
let me
saying
ask you this.
This woman is alleging that happened.
I haven't listened to the entire song, but do you think that the line was TMZ owes me restitution because he had 20 other words that rhymed with Tushin? And so he had to find something to put in because the clip at the start of the show that you put up there, clearly he was using some kind of like an app or like a website where you put a word in and then it'll give you like 20 words that rhyme with that word. And then he just like threw delegation, blah, 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 whatever. So that's
he
probably
was on
what
Hot
happened.
97 the day that it was renamed Lukewarm 97.
Was that Pete with him?
It was Rosenberg.
Oh,
and even
fucking
Rosenberg
hell.
was like, I can't defend this shit. But, okay, so there's just so much to unpack here. Oh, my God. I don't even know where to start. Like,
I mean, I will say this. So I read a lot of the tweets because there were a lot of tweets sent your way. And because you're on my timeline, I read them. And there were a lot of people that were saying, like you said, "Oh, there you go, Sean, you were wrong." It's funny to me. It's funny to me how people are blatantly wrong, and it's okay. And I realize that when the president's Donald Trump, maybe that's maybe it speaks for itself. But you never once accused Enzo Amore of being guilty, not once. All you did was say the facts of the case. Right, but now the Enzo lovers are coming out there saying, "There you go, see, Sean Ross Sapp, you were wrong."
Yeah,
it's
like
ridiculous,
you can't report a negative allegation about anybody, or else you're out to get them.
Right.
Hey guys, I reported on Enzo's cruiserweight title victory too,
and we put him over too.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
he was the star of that show, right?
He
carried that
he
show.
anchored that show. That
Yes,
show
he did.
out from a creative aspect was never better than Enzo Amore.
Agreed.
Was Now, from an in-ring perspective, no. But I mean,
No,
I thought
but
he was coming
since
along
he left
there.
the company, 205 Live gets no love at all.
I wouldn't say that. They've been getting a lot of love for their in-ring. Like they've got some.
I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but they're not on
But
Raw.
They're not on Raw at all.
No, that's
Not on
called
Raw at
not
all.
getting love.
And straight out of the gate, I was told by multiple WWE sources that the reason they let him go was that they didn't believe that he was unaware of the allegations. Now, I definitely could have worded my original tweet better, because my original tweet was, I was told Enzo was aware of the allegations. I was told that. That's what they thought. He was steadfast in saying that he didn't know about the allegations from the first day, from what I was told. But WWE didn't believe him. That is in the story that I wrote in January. Like, I mean, go back and look at it. It's there.
So
WWE was livid that he was aware of the allegations. He said that he wasn't aware of the allegations, and he addressed that today on Twitter as well.
I saw that you and Ryan Satin from Pro Wrestling Sheet were doing a little bit of back and forth about that.
Yeah.
And I just don't get involved with that stuff because I just don't care. But the one thing that I wanted to say to Ryan Satin about that was that WWE, I think, were just looking for an out. I think. Because there had been so many incidents with Enzo Amore, right up to when he was a Cruiserweight champion, when he was bringing lackeys backstage with him and stuff like that. I think that they were looking for an out, and I think that this was their convenient out. So I think it doesn't really matter about because he was going on about like the timelines and stuff like that. I don't think it matters. I think that they were
I was
looking
talking
for an
to
out.
a lot of people, like wrestlers, people that work backstage, WWE PR. I was talking to anybody that I could about this situation, and it was very polarizing. And the thing is, like, there's this popular belief that everybody hates Enzo backstage. That's not the truth. Like, there were some situations that led to him having to dress in hallways or whatever rooms that he could find. But I mean, like, he wasn't. There were plenty of people who just tried to avoid him, and WWE also weren't happy with the company he was keeping.
Right, that's
the people that he was with that night that led to that situation. They weren't happy about them either, and they had there were reports that they had warned him about the company that he kept and bringing them backstage. It was funny. I spoke to somebody that had worked with him on 205 Live prior, and they said, "Oh yeah, everybody saw the rap career coming a mile away because he talked about that all the time before he left WWE." So that's not a surprise either. He posted a tweet that said, "Don't believe my last tweet. You're an armchair detective." He misspelled your. The police have an open line. Call them and ask. They'll call you back in 4 months. Who was that
directed to? Was that directed to you?
About him being. He says that he wasn't contacted by the police before January 22nd. So I can say I don't know when he was contacted by the police. I know that WWE thinks that or at least at the time, people there were telling me they believed he was contacted by the police before that. As far as the police having an open line and calling you back in 4 months, if you're lucky, they'll call you back in 4 months. Because I was calling them every single week. I was calling the Bureau of Public Affairs every single week saying, what's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal? Trying to get updates from anybody within that situation. And, I mean, this wasn't a thing where it's like, I only spoke to the accuser. I reached out to Enzo Amore. I reached out to the two people that were supposedly there on that night. I reached out to the attorney, Enzo's attorney, when the statement was issued, WWE PR. You reach out to everybody in a situation like that. I'm not interested in telling one side of the story. I mean, when Matt Riddle was on a podcast with me and blamed AIW for a big issue surrounding their split, I could have easily ran with that story. No, you contact John Thorne and AIW, and you give them a proper place to discuss that as well. And if their contact info is readily available, make that happen. There's no like.
I mean, like Corey Graves. So if they're as easy to reach as Corey Graves is.
I mean, it's like a running gag on my Twitter now. Whenever he talks about wanting to talk about something or how unhappy he is somewhere, I'm like, hey, do you want to talk about it?
It was very clear to me, not that I want to segue into something else, but it was very clear to me that the directive on SmackDown this week was for the commentators to refer to Big Cass as the 7-footer. And by the end of that match, having heard the 7-footer from NYC 83 fucking times, Sean,
yeah,
I was ready to watch a test pattern on television for the next 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, man.
Because all they did every time Cass was on camera was the 7-footer. The 7-footer from NYC. The 7-footer. The 7-footer from NYC. He drop kicks a 7-footer. Oh, what a shot by the 7-footer from NYC. It's like, holy shit, man. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
But Corey Graves came to mind, and you know, he's the monkey that will do whatever he's told. You know, hey, Corey, do a little flip for me. Okay, cool. Wear a hat. All right. So, go ahead. You can go back and talk about Enzo some more.
I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, there was no like, and when I was asked after it was closed, I said, you know, that there were some red flags about when I had a discussion with that girl. I mean, she seemed all too excited.
Yeah.
To be interviewed by all the people that she was being interviewed by, and
you know what? It would have been very easy to just make accusations and just say, "Oh, this girl made it up because she wants the publicity," but you didn't do that.
I didn't do that either. I mean, it'd been really easy to jump to a lot of conclusions, as Enzo said, but I didn't do that in the article. Didn't do that anywhere else.
Right.
It's a part of whether I like someone personally or not is irrelevant to my reporting.
Right.
I don't. The thing is, a lot of people think that I want to dislike or like somebody. If you want me to be completely honest, there are maybe a couple people I've ever met in wrestling that I really give a shit about knowing on a personal level, period.
So who do you hate the most that you've met?
Who do I hate the most? I can't say that I hate anybody. There have been some people when I've been on hold and they're getting ready to do media interviews, I like hear them yelling at their wives and shit.
Oh yeah,
that
like
makes
who?
it pretty. I'm not telling you that, Jimmy.
All right. Well, whatever.
But I mean, like, that's not a thing that any real journalist should give a shit that much about, is what someone like that would think of them positively or negatively. You report the story objectively. That's it.
Right. That's right. Do you want to move on and talk about the next thing now, or do you want to do your little segue first and then talk about it afterwards?
God, I don't even know what interview segment's up here.
Okay.
How about Tyrus? Here you go. Let's talk to Tyrus. Since we're in a political situation right now in America where everybody who appears on CNN is fake news. Everybody who appears on Fox News is, I don't know, fake news as well. He appears on Fox News all the time. I asked him how that sits with some of his contemporaries. You've got quite a presence on the Fox News programs. Have your political stances ever maybe caused an issue among fellow wrestlers, or do they just kind of understand what you're doing?
You know what? That's a great question. I've always kind of been called like I see it kind of a guy, and the overwhelming support I get from my fellow wrestlers is unbelievable. Like, I mean, I think we all have differences of opinion or whatever in terms of politics, but the fact that I'm transitioned from wrestling to doing something mainstream that's considered taboo for us because wrestlers are supposed to be dumb or we're one-dimensional or whatever. So I think regardless of what my political views are opposed to their political views, they're just, like, for example, Adonis. Some of you guys know him, Chris Masters, whatever. He's probably one of the most supportive guys. Literally, every time I'm on the show, I'll end up getting a message from him, Bobby Lashley, Dolph Ziggler. It doesn't matter what brand they're from. Everyone loves the fact that I'm showing that you don't always have to have the greatest push in the world. Talent always shines through, and the fact that we're the greatest entertainers in the world. No one has to prepare like we do. No one goes through what we do physically, mentally. We don't get retakes. You know, our fans hold us to the grain. So we don't get enough credit for the entertainers that we are. And being in movies and stuff, we'll do 25 takes on a hello scene. You don't get that in wrestling. So we're always pretty supportive. Even if they disagree, it's all love, if that makes any sense.
I was instructed to ask you how big of a fan you are of curling and who won the big pool.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, EC3 is a son of a bitch. Let me just say that right now. And I hate him as a person. I know he put you up to this. He didn't win anything, okay? His name was drawn. He won the lottery. I got stuck with Japan. He got USA, and they upset, and they won curling. We do it every year. And, you know, did he tell you what he had to do the year before when he lost?
It was very vague.
Very vague? Yeah. Yeah, why don't you ask him to explain Go for the Gold? or taste the gold. Ask him what that is. That was his answer. Tell him that Tyrus said, yes, he won the thing, but at least I didn't have to taste the gold the year before.
I don't think I'm allowed to. WWE won't grant us access to talent, so we're stuck with your side of the story.
Oh, well, then cool. Yeah, we felt bad for him, and we let him. But he won. He won the curling event. It's a tradition. We do it every Winter Olympics. We all draw, and everyone, we all battle back and forth with. And, there's some side bettings and some things going on, and some just some fun, just some guy fun, which is illegal nowadays. But it's a good break. But yeah, he won this year. I had Japan, so I got screwed.
All right, we're back.
So it's kind of interesting to note that WWE stock price peaked at $60.44 at 11:14 a.m. this morning. It is now down to $59.19. The sky is falling.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
The day that wrestling died,
five, exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's move on. I'm going to ask this question to Melissa.
Oh, no. Hi.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
And it's this question has nothing to do with her at all, which is what's going to make it kind of funny. So
is it about her new Twitter admirer?
Does she have a new Twitter admirer?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So Melissa, what did I tell you when you started producing this thing? What did I tell you?
There's weird men on the internet.
I told her be smart because simply because of the fact she's female, there's going to be morons coming out of the woodwork.
Oh, this was one that my wife has had to block on various forms of social media for being a creeper already.
Really, Melissa, is your boyfriend a large man?
He's 6'5", so I think I'm good.
6'5"?
Okay, that's good. That's good.
If you're 6'5", you just automatically have a big boot in your arsenal.
But is he a lanky 6'5", or is he like a decently athletic 6'5"?
He's decently athletic.
Good.
Yeah.
See? So then you don't have to worry about whoever this moron is that's chasing Sean's wife and you.
Oh, I can kick ass on my own. I'm fine.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go. So I'm going to ask you this question because this is related to what you just said. This is related to you kicking ass on your own, Melissa.
Okay.
Let's pretend that you were a UFC fighter.
Okay.
And let's pretend that you're from Chicago, Illinois, and you have a fight coming up in 11 days on pay-per-view.
Okay.
All right? Meaning that you probably got a little bit of pressure. You lost your last fight. You're a known star going into the UFC. This is your second fight. Your first fight, you got destroyed. And so you're kind of looking to make amends, and a lot of people, especially the MMA purists, are probably hoping you're going to fall on your face again kind of thing. 11 days before your fight, when you're probably deep into your training now, you're probably trying to cut weight. You're going to be going into fight week soon, which is like full of media interviews and all that shit. You're dealing with all of that, and yet you find yourself sitting in court for the start of a case before a jury in which you're being sued for defamation. How would that make you feel?
I'm learning so much about my life right now.
Yeah, about your hypothetical life.
Confused.
That's all? Confused would be it? That's it?
I have a lot of questions. How did I get myself into this situation?
Yeah, and CM Punk probably asks himself that all the time, right? So on June 9th, CM Punk's going to be fighting at UFC 225 in Chicago. He's very fortunate because he's fighting a bum. And so he probably doesn't have to worry as much as if he was fighting Mickey Gall like he did the first time. He finds himself, at the time it was 11 days. It was yesterday, May 29th, that the case started, that the jury trial started. Found himself sitting in court all day. Back in today, May 30th, sitting in court all day at the Cook County Courthouse outside Chicago, alongside Colt Cabana. They're being sued by Chris Amon, who's WWE's doctor, in a defamation case. The guy's probably training Sean, probably after hours. He's probably training, and next week is fight week for him, meaning that he's got to start the press junkets. Have you heard about a continuance? Because how is he even going to get his shit done?
I would hope that he would ask for a continuance, but
have they not already?
I believe they're in court right now.
No, I get it, but like, did his legal team at any point say, "Excuse me, Mr. Judge, I have a fight next Saturday"? So do you think maybe we could just either move this along or just put it off for a little bit of time?
Well, I'm looking over the notes right now, and it seems like everything's going as planned. But I mean, a lot of these notes are like just coming in.
When you say notes, do you mean from the trial?
Yes.
Yeah, but how long are they expecting it to last?
how the hell should I know? I don't think they have like a deadline or anything on this thing.
This is a horrible thing for CM Punk.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And again, he's fortunate that he's fighting a bum, because he could probably go in there and still do well for himself. But what a horrible situation. And let me tell you, I don't care who wins the court case, Sean. Couldn't care less. If Punk and Cabana win, if Dr. Amon wins, doesn't mean a thing to me. But let me tell you something. Based on this, I hope CM Punk wins his fight. Because for him to have to deal with this shit on top of... And he's fighting at 170, right?
Yeah.
And he walks around at like 190, 195, usually. So that means that he's probably cutting weight. He's in training. He's still a relatively inexperienced fighter. He's going to be going into a pay-per-view fight, which is pressure. He even said himself that he wishes he was on Fight Pass, but they're going to put it on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He's dealing with all of that, and he's sitting in court all day wearing a suit, which sucks. That's a terrible situation.
I'm scheduled to leave for vacation on, let's see, June 28th. I got a letter in the mail 2 days ago for a jury summons.
Okay,
for June 28th.
There's an easy way out. Easy way out. What you do is you go there. I'm sorry. Did you say that's after your vacation starts?
Oh, yeah. It's the morning I'm flying out.
Okay. How is it compared to your flight time?
Oh, about 2 hours after.
Shit.
Well, I'm going to tell them, hey, listen, I can...
You mean your flight is 2 hours after?
My flight is 2 hours before.
Oh, no.
If my flight was 2 hours after,
yeah,
I would just do it. I mean...
Yeah. Because all you do is you go in there.
Lexington Airport's a ghost town on weekdays.
And all you do is you go in, you point to the guy that's on trial, and you just make something up. Like, you fucker, you had it coming. I knew this was going to happen to you, kind of thing. You're going to get disqualified immediately. That's all you do.
Well, I'm going to let them know of my situation. I have non-refundable plane tickets, essentially. And hopefully they can schedule me maybe the next week or the week after, something like that.
I have to ask, did you submit the time off request?
Yeah, I did. You know how I did it?
Did you get it approved?
Every fucking day for the last 2 years.
Why are you raising your voice? Why
am I raising my voice?
I was just asking a question.
Because I'm a real one. That's why.
I'm sorry? Anyway, CM Punk, have you heard any more about the thing? They're just kind of going over the facts right now and all that crap. I asked you if you would send Steve Muehlhausen out there.
I reached out to him, haven't heard back from him.
Okay, all right. Well, whatever. It sucks.
Actually, I just heard back from him.
Yeah?
My God. Like 3 minutes ago. He said he can cover it, absolutely.
Now, what's the process for that? Like, you can't just show up, right? Like, don't you have to get on some kind of a credentialed list or something?
Sure he does.
Yeah. Okay. Tell him I'll give him a per diem if he'll do that for us.
Of course.
As long as it doesn't last a month, because then we're out of business.
That's true. That's a good point.
Let's move on. I want to talk about a new signing by WWE. This is a Japanese wrestler by the name of Io Shirai. Is that right?
Shirai, yeah.
Io Shirai?
Io Shirai.
And I will admit I'd never heard of this person, but I looked up her highlight reel on YouTube. This girl's no joke. And so it was reported by Tokyo Sports on May 28 that WWE has signed her, Io Shirai. She's a 28-year-old woman from Japan. She wrestles for Stardom, currently in Japan. Apparently she's finishing up there June 17. I suspect she's probably going to start out in Orlando. And I looked up her highlight reel, and this girl is good, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's like some of the stuff that they have tape of her doing. The springboard moonsault she does looks great. The Daniel Bryan drop kick into the nip up, she does that, looks really, really good. The running double knee into the corner looks devastating the way she does it. She is going to be good, and it's amazing that WWE over the last few years has really embraced these big Japanese signings. Shinsuke Nakamura, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and they're all doing well. They're being handled well. They're being booked well. Shinsuke Nakamura, at first, I was really pissed with his handling on the main roster because he's such a superstar in terms of potential. But now they're handling him great, I think.
He's great.
Yeah.
They're handling them differently, and that's what I like.
Right.
Back in the day, it's like all of them got the same kind of push and all that shit.
I mean, if you were Japanese, you were Japanese. You know what I mean? That's how they handled it.
This is a far cry from them trying to force Kenzo Suzuki on us.
Agreed. And I even thought he had a great look.
Oh, he was trash, man.
Had a great look,
so bad. He was terrible. But his wife had a great look. She was awesome.
She didn't really do much, right? Just kind of stood there.
Did a lot more than he did.
All right. Well, anyway, I think that this is a great signing, and I think that the women's division, as we've talked about, all around the best that it's ever been. Between NXT and the main roster, the best it's ever been. And the girls are just so much more capable now in terms of athleticism than they were. Do you remember the Jumping Bomb Angels?
I do.
They were excellent.
Yes.
And they were as far as WWE goes, especially, they were the exception for the most part. But
it's so funny because I listened to some of these, some things that we'll talk about how, like Trish and Lita were pioneers of women's wrestling, and I was like, I mean, not really. They weren't. They were pioneers of women's wrestling not sucking as much
in WWE,
for WWE because of their inability to book and put a roster out there, because the Jumping Bomb Angels were great. I like Wendy Richter. Sherry Martel
was great. Sherry Martel was great. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the one thing about Lita and Trish more so than Lita. Lita was kind of a one-trick pony to me. Trish, I thought, did take it to another level. But like you said, they were not women's wrestling pioneers. Maybe they were pioneers for that time in WWE.
Yeah.
And they were the first main event for Raw. So they were pioneers in that regard. But they were not.
The thing is, sorry to interrupt, if you look at the women that they had for that 10-year span, the 2000s, they had enough talent to create a good women's division.
Yes.
It's just they would pepper it in with all these people who couldn't work and didn't have any real business being there. Stacy Keibler had business being there, not in a wrestling capacity, but in a character capacity because she was over.
Right.
But when you had like Beth Phoenix and Jazz and Molly Holly and
Victoria,
Ivory, Victoria,
yep.
There was Gail Kim. You had the ability to do this a long time ago. It's just you would sprinkle in all these people who shouldn't have been there. And they got some okay hands out of that. Like Michelle McCool ended up being all right. But
the problem was it was a different because it was the Attitude Era time. They were too worried about bra and panty matches and all that crap.
Yeah.
And pillow fight matches and just all that garbage. Now that they're in a PG world and they care more about advertisers now and getting mainstream advertisers.
Apparently they should.
Well, yeah, but they're not going to do that stuff now because their advertisers aren't going to like it. And so they are focusing on the athleticism now. And, things are good. Things are good. And like I said, I had never heard of this girl, and I looked her up, and, man, she's good. So she's going to be a good fit.
I had somebody, Zach McDonald, saying Sumi Sakai started out in Ring of Honor in 2002 and stayed with the company. She was gone for 10 years, bro. She barely wrestled there for a decade. But
are you shitting at a guy at McDonald's? Is that what you're doing right now?
No, I mean, I like all of our viewers. I was just clearing that up. That was a topic in our chat. I wanted to clear it up.
Okay.
It's their 46-year-old women's champion over in Ring of Honor when they have Deonna Purrazzo and Kelly Klein and Tennille Dashwood. They put their title on the woman who appeared on one of their first shows in 2002 just to do it.
Loyalty, well, whatever. Let's talk about Roman Reigns. So in the past, we've talked about fan interaction with pro wrestlers and where the line is. Right?
Yeah.
And you and I, we kind of had differing opinions, but similar opinions. My opinion always was when you choose a career that puts you in the public eye, you have to expect that you're going to be bothered when you're in public, so long as a certain line isn't crossed. And I want to talk about Roman Reigns because I'm actually going to defend him. So on May 27th, there's a guy named Carl Handy, and he posted, I wonder if he's related to Jack Handy, this guy. He posted on Twitter that he saw Roman Reigns in Pensacola, Florida, and he claims that Roman treated his daughter badly when asking for an autograph. Roman responded with this tweet. Nigel's got it, so he'll put it up. And this is the tweet. Quote, "First of all, it was a grown man that approached me while I was feeding my son's breakfast and talking to my daughter. Before I could finish saying, 'I'm sorry, but I don't get much time with my family,' he stormed off calling me a sellout. That's the truth. Get your gossip right." And it should be noted that this man, Carl Handy, has deleted most of the tweets since, where he was shitting on Roman Reigns.
Yes, he did.
Now, I told you a story about I one time had dinner with the Bushwhackers, and usually that's all you'd have to say, and that's the end of the story, because that kind of tells itself. But I had dinner with the Bushwhackers, and they were bothered constantly during dinner, and all they would tell everybody is, just let me finish my meal, and when I finish my meal, I'll do whatever you want. Picture, autograph, just let me finish my meal. And everybody that we dealt with that day were very respectful, and they would leave them alone. With the Roman Reigns thing, I would kind of treat it the same way. If you're Roman Reigns, you have to expect that people are going to come over and bother you during a meal. But they need to respect you if you say, just let me finish what I'm doing. Let me feed my son's breakfast. Let me hang out with my daughter. And then when we're done, I'll give you that picture kind of thing. And so for this guy to call him a sellout, and the guy was kind of using his daughter in order to make things look bad on Roman, when in reality it was him looking for the autograph. You know, whatever. So this is a rare occasion, I guess, where I'm defending Roman Reigns.
I mean, as a person, I don't have any issues with Roman Reigns. Creatively, I do, but
that's kind of what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're on a screen, people think they can say or do anything they want. Like, I experienced that with like 10,000 followers. Reigns has about 3.3 million on Twitter. I couldn't imagine opening up his mentions, let alone being in his shoes to go out to eat.
Can you imagine if it was Roman Reigns that said on social media that Enzo Amore was guilty instead of you?
Well, Roman probably would have just punched him in the face and kicked him out of the locker room. Well, he did one of the two. But
that's true. He did. But what I'm saying is, imagine the Enzo lovers shitting on Roman Reigns with his following. Although he's got probably more lovers than haters himself, so I guess it would kind of one would offset the other, I suppose.
Yeah, I will say the Enzo stuff has calmed down the last day. I think even his followers are like, all right, let's move on to something else now.
Wait till he releases his new song.
Yeah. Jesus.
And that's a perfect segue. Let's go to Stupid People.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
Okay, thanks to trevorstrong.org for the usage of the song. Check out his website if you're interested in that. Now, we have an extra one this week, Sean. Oh, and I should also mention, go to fightfulselect.com after this podcast for Stupid People Extended, and we'll have more stuff for you there. I have an extra one this week, Sean. And let me throw this question at Nigel. This one. So, let's say that you've been mostly irrelevant in your field for several years.
Okay.
This is not you, Nigel, because you're relevant. But let's say you've been mostly irrelevant in your field for several years. You haven't really worked consistently. Then you strike gold because you got a major television network to agree to produce a reboot of your show from 30 years ago.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And the show is a ratings hit. You instantly get picked up for a new season. You're suddenly a hot commodity again in Hollywood. You're probably going to make millions of dollars for the second season of your reboot. And then, after all that, you decide to post a tweet. Go ahead and put that up, Nigel.
All right.
Do you think this is what you shouldn't do, Nigel? When you're that person that has been kind of irrelevant and haven't worked consistently, and then you kind of have a horseshoe up your ass, you get your reboot and it does well, and this is probably the one thing you shouldn't do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'd probably want to cool it on the Ambien there.
You might want to cool it on that. So Roseanne Barr, who is Sean's favorite actor and musician, she posted a tweet, and she was taking a shot at somebody by the name of Valerie Jarrett, who I understand was Barack Obama's
senior
one of their advisors.
Yeah.
And it was essentially a racist tweet. She said she's the product of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. Based on that tweet, not only did ABC, and that happened on this past Tuesday, based on that tweet, not only did ABC cancel the show, even though it was their biggest ratings hit, which is balls, not only did they cancel that show, but a lot of the smaller channels that had the old show in syndication have canceled the syndication deals as well. And so Roseanne came out because now she's in, oh shit, I have to smooth things over because my meal ticket just went out the window. So now she's claiming that she was on Ambien, which is a sleep aid. And the maker of Ambien, a company by the name of Sanofi, actually posted a message on social media saying, quote, racism is not a known side effect.
You know what's sad about this is that given the landscape right now socially, I have to preface this by saying I don't talk about politics on my Twitter. But this shouldn't be a political thing.
This isn't a political thing.
It shouldn't be
No.
a political thing. But some people are making it a political thing.
Well, because of her pro-Trump
Yeah,
views?
man. You don't know how many comparisons I've seen to people, people saying double standard. People make fun of Trump and his skin all the time. And I'm like, a shitty spray tan is not an ethnicity.
Yeah, this is way different, I think.
It's way different.
And let me tell you something. We've talked about this before, and you know that I don't really get offended by anything. And I wasn't offended by the tweet, but I thought it was really fucking dumb. Because, and how many times have I said to you, Sean, about when somebody makes a decision about something, I always try to look at what's the benefit of that decision.
Yeah.
What was the benefit of her doing that tweet? There was zero benefit. Zero.
She wants to be fucking edgy.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah.
She wants to be fucking edgy, and she's a moron, and she's a
big moron. And the thing about this too is not only did she cost herself potentially millions of dollars, she cost the jobs of the production staff, the other actors on the show. She cost probably well over 100 jobs because. Let me ask you:
is one of the side effects of Ambien grabbing your own clam after you horribly sing the national anthem?
Did she do that? I don't remember that.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did she do that because they booed her? Is that why?
No, because she sang a horrible rendition of the national anthem in the 80s or 90s.
No, I remember that. It was during a baseball game, but they booed her. So did she do that in retaliation for them booing her?
Who gives a shit why she did it? She did it.
I mean, Michael Jackson made a career off of it, you know? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he did, but he sang very well.
Yeah,
a lot is forgiven if you can sing very well.
So what you're saying is if she did the anthem well, then touching her vag was cool? Is that what you're saying?
Michael Jackson
That's what he said, right, Sean? Nigel?
Listen to me. Michael Jackson touched allegedly a whole lot more than some bad.
Whoa! We're not going in that direction. We're just talking about Roseanne doing the national anthem.
You mentioned it.
I didn't mention that.
Well, if you can sing good, you can get away. Yeah, apparently you can.
Nigel, did I say that, Nigel?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
I don't think you.
Listen. Look at me.
Anyway, when I first heard about this, so I heard about the Roseanne thing before the show was canceled. Like when it first came out, oh, look what she said kind of thing. I immediately thought they're going to cancel the show because we've learned through wrestling, and wrestling is on this ABC thing is on a way other level from pro wrestling. But we've seen with wrestling when guys post things on social media and they get in shit with WWE, you just don't do it. And in a situation like this, of course ABC's sponsors were going to boycott, which is what they did, which is what led to the cancellation of the show in part. Of course they were going to boycott. She's a moron. And so I had to add that.
Friday.
What's that?
She's going to be on the Rogan podcast this Friday.
And she's not canceling the appearance?
I mean, she announced it after.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
I feel real bad for the cast, the crew that.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely.
Given another opportunity.
Absolutely, because they were all stoked that they were coming back for another season, right? So.
Yep.
Let's move on and get to the other news. So this first one, this was actually sent in by Derek, my employee.
Oh yeah.
Telling me that Derek, if you're listening, maybe you need to work more, bud. Although since you're listening to my podcast, I can probably let it go. But he sent this in, and it was reported by CBC News on May 16, and now I just got a picture. So someone in London, Ontario, Canada, Sean, put a World War I artillery shell out on their curbside for garbage pickup. Nigel, put that up.
Can't wait to see this one.
Someone else that was walking by recognized what it was, called the police. The police came out, took a look at it, called the bomb squad. Bomb squad came out, discovered that it was still live, and discovered that it contained 20 to 30 pounds of explosives.
Now here's the thing. Are they stupid for putting it out there, or are they stupid for not selling it to a museum?
Let's just say both, if you want to, in that regard. I would like to know how they put it out there. Like, was it heavy? Did they roll it down the driveway? You know what I'm saying?
I was hoping this ended like the Joe Dirt story where they knocked off the cap of it and it was actually an old crapper tank.
Well, in this case, it wasn't. There was not 20. There was not 20 or 30 pounds of shit. There was 20 or 30 pounds of explosives, and they were very fortunate that they were able to detonate it without incident. So,
what kind of damage would that do?
Oh, a lot.
Man,
a lot. It's not exactly a cherry bomb in a toilet, Sean.
Well, yeah. Have you been throwing cherry bombs in toilets?
I'm just going by what I've heard.
Have you ever thrown a cherry bomb in a toilet?
No, I have not.
That seems like an unusual.
I was thinking of the movies and stuff like that. I was thinking of the movies, No, I have not. I have not.
What movie have you watched where people are blowing their turds out of a toilet with a cherry bomb?
Let me think. There was one. It was like a high school prank movie, and the guy was like taking a shit, and somebody put one in there first, and he like flew up to the ceiling.
I remember on Boy Meets World they threw one in like one of the postal things, like the big blue.
A mailbox, Sean?
Okay, yeah, a mailbox. I didn't want to insinuate that it was.
I think I'd rather call it the big blue postal thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
That's not bad.
In an individual's mailbox, it belonged to the post office, and it was like a season-long storyline about how guilt-ridden they were over it.
I mean, I would be too if I blew up a postal thing, you know.
A big blue postal thing.
A big blue postal thing. So this next one, Sean, I'm going to tell a story associated with this one.
I've seen it in movies, Van.
Yeah. Yeah. Haven't you guys?
Yeah.
Ready for the nicknames.
There you go.
Live chat. Hit us with the nicknames.
You know what? Enjoy yourself with the nicknames. That's good. So this next one, and I don't want to get political, but I'm probably going to here, Sean. So this was reported by the Associated Press on May 29. I bet you Nigel's heard of this one. Do you know who Jesse Duplantis is?
No.
Okay. Jesse Duplantis is a TV evangelist.
Oh, I do know who he is.
Oh, you know who he is?
Bitch.
Okay. So we talked about it before. I'm not a religious sort. I know that you are not a religious sort either, Sean. To be quite frank, I don't really think much of organized religion, but my wife is Christian. I respect that. I respect people if they're very religious. That's your thing. You know, it doesn't bother me, but I'm not into it personally. This Jesse Duplantis, he's out of Louisiana. He is indicative of why I'm not religious and why I don't think of organized religion, because monkeys like this feed off people's faith, right? And you know what this idiot said, and it went viral? On May 21, so he does a weekly video address. And on the May 21st edition of his weekly video address, he asked his followers to give him money so that he can buy a $54 million private jet. And the reason that he wants to buy the jet is, quote, Jesus Christ wouldn't be riding a donkey. He'd be in an airplane flying all over the world.
Gonna have to hit him with the... Who are the people that really believe this? Like,
oh, there's a lot, Sean. And it gets worse.
I see some of the Facebook evangelists. Like, there's that Joshua Feuerstein guy, the Starbucks Red Cup guy, if you remember him. That was popping up and being like, Starbucks is against God. that fucking nerd.
Well, here's how it gets worse. So this guy, this Jesse Duplantis, he already owns 3 private jets. And he paid for them in cash through ministry donations. And now he wants one called a Falcon 7X because it's a 3-engine plane that will allow him to fly in one stop and reduce fuel costs.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my God. So I'm wondering who the people are that give him money, because, like, the guy that I just mentioned, he tries to sell shirts. Like, you know, there's the Property of Jesus shirts and the I Stand for the Flag shirts. This guy is like, nah, just give me money.
So here's where
fourth jet.
Here's where I tell you a story, and my wife might get upset by this story, although she might not. She might not. I'm going to tell it. When I was engaged... My wife is Christian, but she doesn't go to church every week because we're busy with life. But when I was engaged, my wife said, hey, I want to go see my childhood pastor and see if he'll marry us, right? Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's go to his mass, and then we'll talk to him. Okay, good. We go to this place. This guy was non-denominational, Sean. You know why they're non-denominational?
Why is that?
Nigel, do you know why certain pastors are non-denominational?
I'm going to go with broad-based appeal, but...
That's what they'll tell you. They're non-denominational, so they don't have to give any of the money to the church.
Ah, you're right.
That's why.
Okay.
So I walk into this monkey's church, all right? And just so you know, in case anyone's new to the show, I don't mean that in racist terms. I call lots of people monkeys. It's when I think they're idiots, right? Doesn't matter black, white, green, or red. I call you a monkey if I think you're an idiot. So I walk into this guy's church, Sean, and there's lots of people there, and they have like projector screens for, you know, because they got cameras that are shooting the guy and everything, right? And he goes up there, Sean, and when he goes up there, he's holding 3 books, right? And he goes up, and the first thing he says is, here's 2 new books that I've written, and here's this other thing I've written, and if you want them, they're in my gift shop right over there, right? Then when it's time for the donation part of this thing, you know, when it's time to get the whatever, he had digital kiosks in the back. So that if you didn't bring a cash envelope, you could use your credit card and you could go and pay digitally at the digital kiosk.
How long ago was this?
I got married in 2014 and we got engaged the year before, so it was probably 13-ish.
I was thinking it was even longer than that, and I was like, my God, was he rolling with a kiosk in like 2008?
Yeah, I know, it was like 13.
That's
so
impressive.
then I'm sitting there, and I lean into my wife, and I say to my wife, this guy's not marrying us. And I said to her, this guy's not a preacher. This guy's a carny. This guy's a used car salesman. That's what this guy
being
is.
a pro wrestling fan.
Right?
You can
Well,
spot
but
that
I'm not
early.
done, Sean. I'm not done. It gets worse. It gets worse. So then, you know when you see on TV, like Benny Hinn stuff, when people are standing and they're going like this and they're saying amen and stuff like that?
The jacket routine is one of my favorites.
No, but there were actually parishioners that were actually doing that. They were actually standing up and going like this and amen. And he actually did the thing where he'd put his hand on their forehead and they'd fall down. Like he actually did that. And I was saying to my wife, these people are fucking idiots. Like it's a money thing for them. Here's where it got worse. We meet him afterwards, right? And he found out I have my own company. And the first thing that this guy says to me before we even talk about the wedding, he goes, "So, have you ever bought investment property in like the Caribbean?"
Ah, shit. He primo and epicode you.
He had a friggin' brochure, and because he wanted to buy investment property in the Caribbean with donations for his stupid ministry, right? And then what happened was this guy said to me, "You know what, James? I have a vacation scheduled for that time of your wedding, but I'm gonna do this for you guys. I'm gonna prolong my vacation, or I'm gonna delay it, and I'm gonna marry you guys, and we're good to go, right?" A week later, also gets a call because this guy didn't have the balls to look me in the eyes and tell me the truth. A week later, my wife gets a call saying he won't marry you guys because you're living together pre-marriage.
Oh, God.
And I was like, that piece of shit didn't even have the balls to tell me that. He told me to my face, we're going to do this thing. And I said to my wife, he's a carny. He's a used car salesman. If I remembered his name, I'd say it on the air because he was. And this is a reason that I'm not big on religion, is because of monkeys like that take advantage of people's faith. Like this Jesse Duplantis with his 4th private jet. That's why I'm not big in
organized religion. All that's been going
religion.
through my mind the last 2 minutes is how we can make an intro out of this if you ever bring me back to Toronto.
So, okay, I'm going to see if I can find video footage of him on YouTube, because I have no problem calling him out. If I can find video footage of him on YouTube, maybe we'll do something. Or maybe we'll just do something in general.
I want to see you in the Aware Ads office, like whipping Greg with a jacket to heal him. And all of a sudden, he never wants to drink again.
You know something? If I leaned into Greg and said, "You want your commission next month?" he would fall flat on his ass, Sean.
That's what you should do. That would be even better. That would be even better.
It would.
How are those sales looking? All of a sudden, somebody takes a back bump.
Maybe we'll do something, man. But that's. I went off on a tangent there because I get pissed off about this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these people that donate money, they don't have a lot of money, Sean.
Oh, dude. Okay, so I took care of my grandma for a long time. Still give her money on her own, because she's on her own now every month. But like I would review her bills and stuff for her, and I would find like weird shit on the phone bill and stuff. Charges that were supposed to have been canceled like years and years and years before.
Right.
But these companies know her age. They know that she won't notice it herself. Like there were a couple different times where I caught like charges that added up to 4 figures over the course of 6 or 7 years that these people had to end up paying back, because I contacted our family attorney, and I was like, "Hey, listen, can you write a letter? Can you do anything?" Before it even got that far, they were like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." One company that had supposedly been out of business for 2 years was still charging her.
Right.
Like a lot of weird shit, man. And that's just something that she didn't even consent to.
Oh, she wouldn't, but she wouldn't have even known.
Exactly. She may have hit like a wrong button on a phone
to
approve a charge. These people prey on other people.
Absolutely.
And they're like, "Oh, we need it. You take that $1, you're sowing a seed, and you'll get $2.
Right.
Then you give me 50 cents of that.
Right.
And you'll get $5. Then you give me $3 of that."
Like I'd like to know, like I realize again that these evangelists, they prey on people that their faith kind of clouds their judgment, and I get that. But if you're like a fan of this guy or a follower of this guy, how do you take him seriously when he says, "I want to buy a $54 million private jet"? Like how do you take him seriously after that?
Well, I mean, I also want to buy a $54 million jet, and I hope people take me seriously when I say that. However, I'm not going to ask them for money for that.
No, you might ask me for
what
money.
I'll tell them is that they can spend their money on FightfulSelect.com, because you and I filmed alternate commentary, or really essentially commentary, on a match featuring Bobby Roode from 2001. And one of my new favorites El Tornado.
El Tornado, Mark Bartolucci, yeah.
I am a fan of his. You all can get Q&A shows, retro review podcasts, dark match commentary, UFC rankings breakdowns. I'm doing a new feature called If It Were a Work, If It Were a Shoot, where I examine WWE and UFC predictions from the opposite. That'll be a lot of fun. You can get like Fightful bumper stickers, shirts. You can get a copy of Jimmy Van's book. There is legit like a ton of stuff over there. And we won't even ask you for $54 million to get you on a plane, because we have a sponsor level tier over there for one easy payment of $5,000 that'll get you on an airplane to Toronto and have you filming the list and your boy with us. Oh, by the way, it gets you a sponsorship slot on every Fightful podcast for 6 months. It would be more expensive for you to pay for that just flat out and not get a flight to Toronto, but you also get the famed Jeff Jarrett laser engraved guitar. So omg.com, if you want to fly to Toronto, bring us some butter.
It's butterfat. Yeah, it's butterfat, yeah.
They said they can't ship it here because of dairy
I can see that.
laws, so
I can
they can
see
just
that.
bring it.
So, Sean, you know, you went on that big tangent, and I appreciate it, and all the big sell. We still haven't done the Sean Ross Sapp file news story yet.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Yeah. You went on your tangent, and you didn't let me get to the Sean Ross Sapp file, man. So we're going to have to reel it back for this, because this is a good one. Nigel, as soon as he saw the photos, he said, oh, we're so getting demonetized. And I said, I don't care. So we're going to do it anyway. So this was reported by the UK Sun on May 28. A 26-year-old man from India, because it seems these people are always from India or China, he admitted himself into the hospital to get a 6-inch handheld shower head removed from his ass.
No.
Nigel, put the image up. Which one are you putting up, by the way?
I'll put up the X-ray first.
The X-ray, okay. It went deep into his pelvis. Fortunately, it did not cause any internal damage. The man denied that he put it there himself, and instead he claimed that he accidentally slipped in the bathroom, and that's what happened. That's what he said. Now, here's the best part. There's a medical journal that I'd never heard of called BMJ, and they do case reports on medical incidents or whatever. And they actually did a case report on this. And what's funny is you read the report, because everything that they say in the report, it's all kind of written with a serious tone kind of thing, even though the story is ludicrous. And here's a quote from this medical journal in relation to this story. Quote, history is often ambiguous and incomplete due to a high level of embarrassment and social stigma attached to the condition. The same was seen in our case. Though the patient reported accidental insertion of the shower head and denied voluntary insertion, there is a high suspicion of voluntary insertion for autoerotic purpose. So they actually used a very serious tone to explain that he shoved the thing up his ass.
So when I watch horror movies, I like to watch movies that seem a little more realistic. Helps me get into them a little bit more.
Like Friday the 13th.
I can believe that something this horrible could actually happen.
Nightmare on Elm Street?
It immerses me in the movie. No.
Halloween?
Comedy movies I give a little more leeway to, but when I watched American Pie, I was like, there's no way this shit would happen.
Oh,
this segment every
somebody's
single
fucked
week,
a pie, Sean.
This segment every single week leads me to believe that all of that stuff has happened across every film, even the shitty, like, straight-to-DVD ones.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff has happened somewhere in the past.
Did you know that they filmed 2 different scenes of him banging the pie?
I mean,
Did you know that, Nigel?
No, I didn't.
So there's one, and I shouldn't know this, but I do. So there's one where he is standing, holding the pie, like, on his area. Mm-hmm. And there's another one, his genital area, Sean.
His general area?
Genital area.
Genital area.
Yeah, I didn't want to like turn into Sean and say right in the penis.
No, you didn't do it right. Go ahead and do it.
So the other scene.
Go ahead.
The other scene, he was riding the pie on the kitchen island. Yeah. And I know this because I've seen both. I think like the DVD I had alternate scenes or something.
Okay. Version and all that.
Yeah, that's how I knew. Yeah. Okay,
well,
there you go.
I guess I can transition right into a segment with Madison Rayne, who is back in Impact Wrestling for about the 9th time, it seems. I asked her why it is that she is able to hold such a positive relationship despite the constant changes in regime. You've been in and out of Impact Wrestling several times, regardless of regime. What do you think contributes to what seems like such an amicable relationship, despite whatever regime may be in charge?
With me personally?
Yes.
I've always tried my very best in a business that has the potential to get very dramatic, to always just go to work and remember that it doesn't feel like work. And at the end of the day, everybody who's there, everybody who's part of the company, they're living their dream job. I mean, we wake up every day and get to go perform and do what we love and what we've loved since we were kids. And in those moments, I mean, I'm human. I have moments where I want to bang my head against the wall at work. But in those moments, I just remind myself that I'm literally living my dream job. And there's really no better situation to be in. And, you know, the other thing that I have done in those times of, you know, I spoke of ups and downs throughout the company. In those down times, you just kind of put blinders on, and you mute maybe social media and the world and everybody who is trying to tell you of the demise of something that's coming, because that's the absolute best thing you can do. I mean, not just with Impact, not just with wrestling, but, you know, you are there, and I have been there, and I have seen, you know, what the real story is. And so I just put on blinders and kind of try to shut out the negativity. And I think that maybe that's probably helped me in all of my ins and outs and backs and forces through the company.
And we're back.
Sorry, we just got that.
Yeah.
To, I guess, expand on the Enzo thing, I had somebody saying, why wouldn't Enzo be mad at you? You cost him his job. No, WWE.
What?
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Somebody said that on Twitter?
No. They said it to me on Twitter and then blocked me. Go figure. But,
Unbelievable. I mean, you know what,
like,
Sean? I would take it as a compliment that they think that you have that kind of authority.
It's not even that. I mean, I don't dislike or like an Enzo Amore. That's just it. WWE wasn't aware of what was going on until media contacted them about it.
Yep.
And then they fired him.
I actually was always entertained by him. Yeah. But I guess when you think of it from the perspective of the employer, I thought that he was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'm really excited to not talk about the Enzo thing. And, like, just all these people think I dislike him.
Right.
I do not dislike the dude. And I could see why he's angry and wants to blame somebody, but are you going to blame every reporter that did their job? I mean, I had to talk to WWE sources.
Yep.
It's, you know, I guess one person isn't enough for him to blame.
Well, good luck to Real One. So, I had a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to get to on this podcast, but we've gone off on these tangents today, so I have to cut down a little bit. So I'm just going to throw out some independent wrestling news and stuff like that. I have some WWE stuff about Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey, but that stuff doesn't really matter, I guess, this week. So let's talk about All In first, the All In show in September. So Nick Aldis, the NWA champion, he's confirmed for that show. He's going to defend the title against Cody Rhodes on that show. Now, on June 29th, Ring of Honor's Best of the World pay-per-view, Cody's going to be in a triple threat match for the Ring of Honor title against Dalton Castle, who's the champion, and Marty Scurll. So Aldis, who is also now doing Ring of Honor dates, has said, if Cody Rhodes wins the title, I want our match at All In to be title for title. And I wanted to mention this because I really want to give props to Billy Corgan. This whole thing is great for the NWA. The fact
fantastic.
That it's phenomenal for him. They're getting their champion booked with Ring of Honor, and now they're getting all the social media plugs and stuff for All In because of his association. And you know it's because Cody Rhodes has that old school feel about the NWA because of his dad, right? So good on NWA.
Remember the long form feature I did from Old to Gold on the NWA title and Tim Storm and all that stuff? So
somebody just opened your door, Sean.
Yeah, they did. It was
Tell the cats
ghost.
to stay the fuck out.
It was a ghost. There's nobody there, but you're about to see some cats. I guarantee.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're going to see some cats.
The Crooked Tail one, is he there, or was it No Tail?
Crooked
I forget.
Tail.
Is it No Tail?
We have a kitten with No Tail that we're about to give away as well.
Oh.
But every decade, it seems like NWA is able to attach themselves to a relevant promotion. In the 80s, it was WCW. In the 90s, it was WCW, ECW, and WWE, or WWF at a point. TNA in the 2000s and later on Ring of Honor. This decade, it's been New Japan for a while and Ring of Honor. Good. Perseverance. I like it. The story is automatically there. With Cody Rhodes, you could have just said, going after the title that his dad held, and bam, the story's there. But they didn't stop there.
Right.
They expanded on it, and now they've got the Flip Gordon thing that you mentioned last week, which I thought was a brilliant idea. I think he weasels his way into that match somehow. And but maybe not now that it's title for title, but
well, it's not title for title yet. He's got to win the title first, right?
Yeah.
So
there's still months until that happens. I think it's great. It's good storytelling.
Yep, I think so too. So Impact Wrestling. So they're doing a show again. We're doing this on May 30th. They're doing a one-night only taping this Sunday. It's a joint promotion with Santino Morella's Destiny Wrestling out of Mississauga, Ontario, which is next to Toronto here. I think Nigel's from Mississauga, I think.
Yep.
And this taping is going to feature the likes of Austin Aries, Rich Swann, Sami Callihan, Matt Sydal, Pentagon Jr., Moose, Eddie Edwards. The reason I'm mentioning this is because we're working on a new studio up on another floor in this building. And when the studio's done, I'm going to reach out to Santino, and I'm going to reach out to maybe Scott D'Amore and see about whenever they bring guys in for these tapings, maybe we can grab them and do an interview with them in the studio first.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Also, they're doing a press conference next week. Who are you sending?
At Real Sports, right?
At Real Sports.
That's interesting.
Bar and Grill, yeah.
Oh, it's a massive bar, massive, and it's part of the Toronto Maple Leafs complex downtown.
I want to check it out sometime.
It's got the biggest screen I think I've ever seen in my life. It's like literally two or three stories, the screen inside. But good for them. I mean, when I hear things like that, I think to myself, are they really doing a press conference at a venue like that, or are they just showing up? You know what I mean? Kind of like the all-in-one at the T-shirt shop.
They didn't just show up
with the boxes on the shelves and the 8-foot-tall black curtain, and one microphone for 3 guys to use, so that the PR person decided I'm just going to yell from the podium. So yeah. You know, I don't like cheap production, and that was weak, Sean. But they sold out the show, so good for them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you think Impact will do with their pay-per-view, Slammiversary?
Where is it again? It's at the Rebel nightclub, right?
The nightclub, yeah.
They'll sell it out. It's only, what's capacity, 800?
No, way more than that.
No, not for
Way
wrestling.
more than
Is
that.
it for wrestling?
I don't know that wrestling's ever been there.
No, but there was a theater set up, and I thought it was set up for like 800 for
Interesting.
wrestling. Yeah. So I think for that they'll do all right, I think. Okay, let's talk about the Mae Young Classic.
Sure.
So PW Insider reports that they're going to be WWE's going to start searching for talent for the second annual tournament. They're planning tapings in August at Full Sail in Orlando, and the field is going to be a mix. It's going to be some performers from last year's tournament, and then some fresh faces as well. When I first heard about that, I thought, well, with the TV contracts they're about to sign, it's not exactly like they're going to be short on funds to ramp up network content, right?
Well, Chelsea Green says that Britt Baker, and Santana Garrett haven't been contacted yet. So, and those are 3 of the biggest names not signed by WWE.
Right.
If that means that they won't be, who knows? But if they don't get at least 2 of those 3, I'm just sitting there like, what the hell are they doing? Those are 3 of the best and most prominent out there right now.
Do you remember back when the Owen Hart thing was happening, where they were calling him a nugget? And who called Owen Hart a nugget? Was it DX?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And the idea was he was a nugget because no matter how many times you flush, he just won't stay down, right?
Yeah.
And that's why they called him a nugget. The reason I'm bringing this up is because today's equivalent of that is Global Force Wrestling. No matter how many times you flush that toilet bowl, Sean, that nugget keeps popping back up to the surface. And there was an announcement that made, if you even want to call it an announcement, I guess, but there was an announcement made that Global Force Entertainment is going to be partnering up with Fight TV to produce content for the Fight TV platform. Now, the reason, not that I want to disrespect Global Force because I have fun with it already, but if you go to fight.tv, they already have a ton of content from a ton of entities, big and small, on that platform.
Yeah, they have your boy calling some fights on Fight TV this Saturday.
Okay, so I don't want to screw that up for you, but
yeah, please don't.
They have like Booker T's podcast, they have Rumble in the Cage MMA, they have Defiant Wrestling, they have Voice of Wrestling stuff. it's not like they essentially have the elite of the elite. They have whatever they can get. And
well,
so,
not until this Saturday when Premier MMA Championship 8 broadcasts live from the Hit Sports Complex in Covington, Kentucky, where I will be doing play-by-play commentary. Then they'll have that.
Okay. So when this announcement was made...
You can also see that on Spectrum Sports, by the way.
When this announcement was made, I thought this really isn't an announcement because Global Force is just getting their shit added to a platform that has all kinds of other shit. But it came out and I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, it's funny because in early 2014, I thought that was going to be the next boom of wrestling content. You had Global Force, Lucha Underground. New Japan just had a new thing. Impact was switching all around. Raw and SmackDown. There was a lot of movement there. Ring of Honor was getting on Destination America as well. Mm-hmm. There was a lot going on at that point, and I was like, wow, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't he start up his own thing? A lot of people like him as a booker. It went away, and he decided he's going to try to ride the next wave, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like I said, they can't flush him, man. Like, you keep on hitting it, and it just pops back up. So good for him.
They don't have any champions right now. They combined all their champions with Impact last year.
Yeah, that was good decision-making.
Yeah,
so moving on,
right.
What do you think of the situation with MLW and WWE?
So I actually reached out to Court Bauer. A little backstory on this guy's... WWE reached out to MLW talent because MLW now has TV on BN Sports. And no matter the size, small or large, apparently, if you get on TV, WWE gets pissing their Cheerios and they're like, shit, let's get everybody. Let's prevent. Unless they smoke weed, then we won't hire them.
It's basically the 80s all over again. That's what it is.
So weird. So they contacted some MLW talent, and Court Bauer, the owner of MLW, was actually there while they did it.
In New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
And what was Court Bauer's job back in the day?
He was a writer for WWE.
Exactly.
And he told them, hey, these guys are under contract, as did the people under contract, and the effort was still made on WWE's behalf to do it. So Court Bauer told me in the exclusive story we reported on Fightful.com that he has notified them via the proper channels to kind of cut the shit out.
So I think if I learned anything through the Mike Awesome situation, and anybody that wasn't a fan of wrestling then, and actually Nigel and Melissa, both of them. So back in the day, there was 3 major promotions, WWE, WCW, and ECW. Those were the big 3 in the U.S. The champion of ECW was a guy by the name of Mike Awesome. He was under contract to ECW. While he was under contract to ECW, he showed up on television with WCW. And WCW's mentality was, well, we're owned by Time Warner at the time, and ECW was low on money, and fuck them. That was more or less the mentality. Wow. And so they ended up cutting a deal by which Mike Awesome had to go back to ECW to drop the title on television. And ECW tried to outsmart WCW by actually partnering up with WWE and getting a WWE talent to win the title for Mike Awesome.
Sure.
Which was Taz, of course. The reason I'm bringing this up is
because Shane Strickland's going to show up on Raw with the MLW title.
Right. No, the reason I'm bringing it up is because if WWE wants an MLW talent bad enough, they're going to get them. And that's just how it is.
I mean,
and
eventually.
No, they'll get them whenever they want them. If there's a guy, who gives a shit, Sean? What's MLW going to do?
Buy him out? Yeah, they could buy him out, but other than that, they're contractually obligated.
Okay, so what? MLW, Sean, in terms of finances, all right? And I'm just giving you the corporate truth about things because this is the corporate truth. MLW, in terms of finances, all right, is basically this cup of water right here.
Contracts are pretty black and white. WWE does not like to have anything to do with contract tampering.
Here's my point. My point is if WWE chooses to do things the right way, which they probably will, because it's not like MLW's got Brock Lesnar under contract, right? So if WWE chooses to do things the right way, which they probably will, nothing's going to happen. Right? If WWE decides we really want that guy, they're going to get that guy. And
contracts are pretty black and white, man. They have never been interested in contract tampering.
With all due respect, Sean, don't be a moron, okay? Because I'm going to tell you one more time. They're probably going to do
when
things
has
the right
WWE
way.
ever been interested in contract tampering?
No, this is not contract tampering.
Yeah, it is. If they are under contract for multiple years, as reported,
Sean, you're not this fucking stupid. All right? This is not contract
How
tampering.
is that not fucking contract tampering?
Okay, if you'll stop yelling, I'll explain it to you, you idiot, all right? This is not contract tampering. What this would be is Vince McMahon telling Court Bauer, I want that guy, I'm taking that guy, here's a check, shut the fuck up, and I'm taking him.
Just like I said 12
Yeah.
minutes ago. A buyout.
Not a buyout. It wouldn't be a buyout.
That is the definition of a buyout.
No, it's not.
That is a buyout of a contract.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
That is literally the definition.
No, because I guarantee you that these MLW guys, Sean, they're being probably paid per taping. All right? These contracts do not have an annual value to them. They're probably being paid per taping, right? So there is no annual value to these contracts, Sean. There isn't. They're probably being paid per taping.
That is literally what I just said.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes.
No, this is not like the NHL, Sean, where somebody signs for $8 million a year over 10 years, $80 million, right? That's not what this is.
Buying
MLW
somebody's contract is still a buyout.
No, they're not. They wouldn't be buying the contract.
That's
They wouldn't be, because it's completely different. In WWE, you're paid a certain value for a certain period of time. MLW, it's probably a per diem per taping.
probably.
It's not the same thing.
Probably. You don't know.
Oh, it's not the same thing, Sean.
Probably.
No.
So you don't know.
It's
You're
not the
just
same
calling- you're
thing.
Just calling the guy that's been talking to Court Bauer a fucking idiot, reporting shit for your site. That's just
No, I'm not calling him an idiot. I'm not calling him an idiot. What I'm saying...
you're calling me an idiot.
Well, I did because sometimes you talk when you don't necessarily understand everything, Sean.
Oh,
Sometimes,
so the guy
sometimes
who
I want to
hasn't been
educate
talking
you, Sean.
And hasn't been reading up on the contract situation, hasn't been talking to MLW, hasn't been following the news of the situation.
So what is the MLW contract situation?
I told you the situation. They extended information to WWE saying, piss off contacting our contracted
I
talent.
understand.
And
I'm saying,
WWE
how are the contracts structured in MLW, Sean?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me since
But you just
know?
said you do. You just said
know.
you do.
I said I've been talking to Court Bauer. When's the last time you talked to anybody from MLW?
I don't need to talk to anybody from MLW.
No, you can assume it and call your managing editor an idiot on the air instead.
I'm not calling you...
Instead of letting me do my fucking job.
I'm not calling you an idiot in general terms
just
today.
did.
Not
After
today.
I extended to you, after I said to you, WWE could very well offer a buyout of the contract, offer them some form of money to say, okay, yeah, maybe that guy's not worth it, and we'll take the buyout instead. Of course they could.
Yeah, but I don't consider it...
looked at people to do that on Fightful and say, hey, maybe if you don't want to do this anymore, we can buy you out of that. That shit happens all the time.
Fine. I guess it's semantics. I don't consider it a buyout.
It's the same thing.
I don't consider it a buyout. Because they're probably paid per diem for a certain number of tapings, and it would be WWE. Honestly, it'd be them giving Court Bauer like cash in a briefcase kind of thing. The talent would be completely separate.
Well, I mean, but then the talent would then get a WWE contract.
Exactly.
But I mean, the thing is, they can't just walk in there willy nilly. If for some reason a talent doesn't want to go to WWE, I don't know their motivations, but just because they're working for MLW doesn't mean their ultimate goal is to go to WWE. For some, it might. The majority probably is. But, like...
Are there any that wouldn't want to go to WWE?
Shane Strickland can't. He's working for Lucha Underground. So they can't walk in there and say, we want Shane Strickland and Pentagon. They're under contracts elsewhere.
Yeah, they have more money too, right?
I'm sure they do. But, I mean, there are a lot of people on that roster that doesn't work for. Like, they can't just do that. MLW had to stop using Matt Riddle because he's under a WWN deal. Like, there are a lot of people on this roster that just handing MLW or Court Bauer a check just would not work for.
Yeah, because of other contracts that they have.
Sure.
What I'm saying, all I meant was...
Their needs, their desires, any of that stuff.
Sure. All I meant was if there's a guy WWE really wanted to go to WWE, a contract wouldn't stop it.
Well... Not if they went to MLW and said, here's some money.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, because WWE's not contacting those people anymore for a reason.
Right, sure.
Because they were told to piss off because contracts matter. If they didn't have a contract, WWE would have said, tough shit, we're signing them anyway.
Sure, but my point was, even with the contract, if they wanted them bad enough, they'd find a way to get them.
Maybe.
They would. Your door just opened again by itself.
Maybe. Well, my door's a fucking idiot that doesn't know how to do its job and doesn't understand MLW's
like
contract. We won't worry about that.
When WCW wanted Mike Awesome, right? When they wanted Mike Awesome, they took him. They had to give ECW money out of the deal, and they had to agree to have him go there to drop the title. But ultimately, they wanted it bad enough, and they paid for it. WWE would do the same thing.
That was 18 years ago.
Yeah, so?
That was a long time ago.
So does that mean that contracts have changed in 18 years?
It's pretty widely known that most of the ECW stuff was verbal. Like handshake deals, stuff like that.
No, by then he had a contract because there was TV involved. He had a contract.
There were a lot of people on TV back then under handshake deals.
He was not. He had a contract.
Well, maybe you can talk to Mike Awesome about that one.
Okay, now that's mean. That's mean. So just so you guys know, Mike Awesome has passed away.
Oh.
See? Nigel thought that was mean too.
No, Nigel said, "Oh, don't speak for Nigel."
You didn't see this, Sean? Nigel was looking at a picture of you, and he gave the picture the finger.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
We need to talk about more subjects like this.
Like what?
I don't know. We lost viewers, probably because you're rude.
No, I was just trying
That
to.
would be the most engaged live chat.
I was just trying to explain the corporate underground to you, Sean. That's all I was trying to do. I was trying to explain the corporate underground. Yes.
It's a company that's got $2 billion worth of TV deals. Of course they can afford anyone they want.
Of course. And of course they would take anyone they want.
Change. If AJ Styles, they had a lot of money in 2001 too. You know what the thing was? AJ Styles didn't want to move his wife away from her college. You never know what's going to motivate somebody.
I mean, he also was offered developmental, though.
That's right,
That's
he
a
was.
big difference.
But Kenny Omega, haven't they tried to sign him? He had a standing offer.
He was in developmental, wasn't he?
And he left of his own volition.
Yeah,
and he has a standing offer to appear, or basically to go there whenever he wants.
Yeah.
They tried to get Bad Luck Fale. They tried to get Tama Tonga. And they said, nope. Doesn't always work like that.
No, sure it doesn't. All I'm saying is an MLW contract's
so I'm
not going
right.
to stop him.
FightfulSelect.com.
He really isn't. He really isn't.
Extended coming up next. Jimmy, what do you have going on this week?
So tomorrow we're having a team event. And it's going to be something very interesting. And there's been a little bit of controversy in the company because some people, because they don't know what it is or they don't understand it, they almost don't want to do it.
Watch the show. Oh, you all are going to talk about MLW contracts. Some people don't understand it, huh?
You're really bothered by this. He's really bothered by this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I you know what, Sean? I apologize that I had to, tell you about the corporate underground and how MLW contracts don't mean shit in that regard.
Hey,
I apologize.
I had to make you feel like you didn't know anything because you don't.
Oh, no, I definitely do. I definitely do. For sure. This is why, in this case, Vince McMahon, Court Bauer. There you go. So tomorrow we have a team event, and Friday is my kid's first birthday, so I'm actually taking the day off on Friday.
Nice.
Yeah. Doing a
We'll
photo
be
shoot
in
that day.
briefly in the afternoon. What is the team event?
Should I tell them what the team event is?
Yeah.
So the team event is something called Mystery Dinner Theater.
Ooh, I'm familiar with Mystery Dinner Theater.
You are?
Somewhat.
Have you done?
Somewhat. No, I've heard about it.
So basically, we book the thing. It's going to be a private thing for our company. They're going to have like a murder mystery thing. We're going to be participating in it. Names have been picked from the company that are going to participate, and they don't know who they are.
I didn't know that.
Did you not know that?
No, I thought it was.
Have you
just
seen the
like
movie Game
their
Night
theater
that came
type
out?
thing.
I think it was this year.
I'm not sure. Will Ferrell?
No, it's I think Jason Bateman. I think.
Haven't seen it. Haven't seen it.
Well, he's good in everything, but it's basically the same thing. We have one of those in Louisville.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've done it twice, and it's fun. Some of the guys in the company, because they haven't done it, they were like almost voicing their displeasure, and it got to the point where, and boy, I'm saying stuff I shouldn't say, but it got to the point where I had to basically say to them, if you don't like being able to leave early and have free booze and have free food, then fuck off.
Sounds like a solid day.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
Guys, you all can follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. You can follow Nigel at Nigel Lokai. But follow Melissa. Melissa, I see you following some of my friends on Twitter.
I followed who?
What?
Nikita Krylov fan.
Oh.
That's who.
Okay.
I see you. I'm aware. That's how you get your follower count up. I know you're riding off the coattails of SRS, but I'm okay with that.
That was
you're
my
a friend.
sole purpose for getting a job here, to ride your coattails. Yep.
Because you're a friend. Well, now I'm riding your coattails, so there we go.
What was going on first? Melissa was here before Fightful, right?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Fightful was
No.
here first?
Fightful was here before Nigel and Melissa.
Yeah.
Really? Not
July,
really?
Yeah,
right?
like 2 months and then.
Oh, okay, okay.
Which is
interesting.
weird for me to think sometimes because the timeline, I just assume everybody that I met was there years before I got there.
Interesting, interesting.
Jimmy is at JimmyVan74. You all can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, everything. We're not going to drop any rap tracks on SoundCloud, despite what Jimmy would tell you, but
Sean's going to do one. Sean's going to do
I'm
one.
not going to do one. Somebody
Retaliatory.
involuntarily did one. Remember to the R Truth theme that one time?
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, I ain't doing another one of those. Guys, until next time, we are out.